Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we've got this Mastercraft riding mower. Not a bad unit, it's a little bit older. It's fine, they're good machines. It's got a plastic hood and steel sides. It appears to have been stored in a shed for most of its life. It's not actually too bad. Got a exhaust hole here. The previous owner, I guess the original engine blew up. It was a 12 horse. Guess it blew up, so he put one in out of a Craftsman tractor. Well, I think it's a 12 horse he put in. Yep, 12 horse Briggs. I can't tell you what date the tractor is. I can tell you what date the engine is, but that's not going to help us date the whole unit. But that did a little bit of a prelim, inspection. It's got a new belt on the deck. It's got new blades on it. It's got tubes in all the tires. They all hold air. It had a kooky little tiny motorcycle battery in it when it was new, and they're expensive and they're not very good. So previous owner rigged up a system where he ran another auxiliary battery or something up in the front here, up underneath. So we're going to unfix that. And I'm going to try and see if I can put a standard lawn tractor battery in this. We'll have to cut the hole open and maybe make a support to hold the battery up. But I'm going to try and get a regular lawn tractor battery in there because they're far better. They're much more power to turn these engines over, and they're cheaper. So we're going to try that anyway. So we're going to unfix that. And he says it won't start. I'm not sure if he said it won't turn over or if it just doesn't start, but it doesn't matter because we're going to get into the carburetor anyways and go through that. This is a flathead. It's not overhead valves, so you don't have to adjust the valves on them. So they should just run. Yeah, it's a flathead. So it shouldn't be too terrible. I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to pull the hood and the shrouds off. I did look at the deck. It doesn't appear to be rotted out. We might take it off, maybe not. I'm going to get a light up in there and eyeball the drive belts. This is one of those, what's it called, Transmatic or something. I don't know. It's a sheave pulley. It's a variable speed transmission, so I'm going to get in there and just look at the belts, make sure that they're okay, and yeah, go from there. So let me get those things done. I'm going to get it lifted up, get the hood off there, start unwrapping some duct tape on the wiring, and we'll see where it leads us. All right, so I've got the hood off, and I got the 12 extra feet of 8-gauge wire out of there. Yeah, I took the shift plate off, just 2 screws. The shift plate cover comes off where the shifter goes through, just to gain access to the zip ties and everything to get the wires pulled out. So all that's left there now is a factory ground wire about this long, and the factory original I think it's 6-gauge wire that goes from the battery to the new starter relay that's in there. That's that. I pulled the dipstick. There's oil in it. Actually, there's too much oil in it. There's not a single drop of fuel in the tank, and the dipstick is reading about 1.5 inches too high. So we know where the gas went. Into the engine. Definitely need to get into that carburetor, check the needle and seat, make sure the float's not sunk. A sunk float is, especially if it's a brass one, even plastic, if they get a little crack in them, they start to fill it with fuel, and then they get heavy, and then they sink, and it doesn't shut the fuel off. And it overflows carburetor, goes in the intake, goes right by the valve into the piston, and fills the engine up anyways. That's also a big contributing factor to all the oil that you'll see on the frames of these things under the engines. A lot of times I see them, if they're just covered in oil under the engine, it's not an engine leak like a normal one, like a seal is bad or something. It's usually too much gas has got into the oil, thinned it out, and it's just seeping out of everywhere. So typically it can wreck the seal, but typically I warm them up, drain the oil out, put some fresh oil in there, and they don't leak after that. So yeah, gas tank's really dirty. It's got some debris in it. The fuel line is hard as a rock. it is so hard, there's no tension on anything, so I can just turn that filter in this little piece of line. So it's going to get all new line. We'll pull that fuel tank off and we'll put new line on it, new filter, and a shutoff valve, which is important. We'll pull the carb off and ultrasonic clean that. I'm just checking the motor here. The engine code number on that Briggs is starts with a 91, which tells me it's a 1991 engine. I don't know if it's newer or older than the tractor. It's probably close to about the same year as the tractor, but good old flathead 12 horse. Worst comes to worst, I have a 15.5 horse overhead valve Briggs that I can put in here if need be. It's a spare, I've got it in the shed. So yeah, let's cut the zip ties off that fuel tank. We'll get the fuel line out of there. We have to clean that tank out. I didn't do much exterior cleaning. I'll wait till after I'm done, and then I'll spray the whole thing down with spray 9 and pressure wash it off. But yeah, we can zip those zip ties off of there real quick. That zip tie is factory, this way they are. That's all that holds them on, a couple of zip ties. And the fuel line is not gonna make it out of there, so we'll just cut it off here. Okay. There we go, tank comes out. A little bit of junk in it anyways. This should just come right off, yep, because everything's hard as a rock. It's all garbage, it's gonna get replaced. So this tractor originally had a separate pull knob for the choke and a throttle lever, but this engine, that's a combination, so the throttle and the choke are all on one lever now. That's handy. I'll pull this off, see what it looks like in there. The previous owner actually, he took care of this machine. He says it's been a great machine for them. They've had it for years and years. It was the machine that they used up at the cottage. And it was just to the point now where it wouldn't start for him or whatever the issue was, and he just decided it's time to get another one. So we went ahead and bought another used rider for the cottage. And graciously donated this one to me, Random Wrenching. We'll throw it on the channel and see what we can do with it. Oh, oily. Oh, that filter's not too bad, I guess. We'll see. We'll clean it up. I know I don't have one of those. I got the newer style that's kind of wide on one end and narrow on the other. Just checking that choke function, make sure it actually closes. Yeah, it does close all the way. Doesn't look too dirty. Doesn't matter, still coming apart. All right, let's get this stuff out of here. Yeah. One screw there. It's all one piece. The carburetor does not unbolt from any of the elbows like the newer, more modern stuff. This is an old school throttle linkage. So we'll probably have to pull the muffler off to get that bolt out, to get this bolt out, to get the intake off, to get the carburetor off, to throw everything in the cleaner. Yeah, let's do that. So I tried to crank it over with the booster pack, and it basically hydraulicked. So I pulled the plug out, hit the booster pack, and it sprayed crap all over the place. So I decided we're not going to be able to wait to warm this thing up before we get the oil out of it. It's loose. What do we got? Oh boy. Black gas. That's not even oil. That is just black gas. And lots of it. We better let that drain a little bit. Okay, I got most of a quarter of straight 30 in there. And I got my booster pack hooked up to the back of there on the battery cables. And no fuel lines. New spark plug. Let's give that key a twist to see what happens. Park brake. Crank's okay. Let's give her a little lovin'. Got some mixed two-stroke gas here. See what happens. Ready? Ha! It runs. Well, that's promising. I like it. Sprayed gas and crap everywhere, but I like it. I think it'll be just fine. Definitely going to need to get a battery in the back of this thing to make sure that everything else is going to be all right. And it does severely need a pressure wash, but I think this is going to be a minimal one. We got some loose engine mounts. We better tighten them up. Yeah, all right. I'm happy with that. Got enough oil in there to run it a little bit, and then I'll dump it out again, make sure all the gas is flushed out, and we'll move on to looking at the deck and squirting lube and stuff and cleaning things. Oh, excellent. I like that. Well, we're getting serious now. I'll tell you what. I've tightened up the engine mounts. Just about to take the carburetor off. Tightened up one little steering bolt that had worked itself loose. This is like a total overhaul now. Not really. I did shine a light up underneath the cowl to see if there's any evidence of a mouse house, and we're free and clear, so we're not gonna have to take all that off. We gotta take these little locks, bent locks off of these bolts, so we can spin the bolts out of there. Take the muffler off so we can get this bolt out of here, so we can get the carburetor off and into the ultrasonic cleaner, which reminds me I'm going to turn that on right now so it warms up. There we go. On and warming up. What do we got? 3/8-ish? Nope, 8 mil here. 8 mil, and then this should slide right off. Again, this is just slightly different than a little bit more modern ones, where this elbow is separate. This elbow is bolted to the flange of the carburetor. There's another flange here, that another elbow is bolted to the engine. So this is all one piece. You can actually see here that there's a little groove and a hole where a clamp would hold a cable here for a different application. This says choke right on it. That's not the choke. All right. Let's get those out. Where's my little driver? Here's my little driver. Get our 8 5/16. We'll get it off of here. You guys seeing okay? Ish? Let's get you zoomed in a little. Oh, okay, so took the 8 out of here, got an 8 on the top here. 5/16, 8 mil, same thing. We can take the upper intake plenum off. Air filter holder. So the brace is disconnected. You know, yeah, I think I want to take it off. I'm just debating now whether I want to take all that off or just take the bowl off and have a look. Let's take the bowl off. Just for funsies. We'll take the bowl off. Is that a 1/2 inch? Just for fun. See what we got. If we got any kind of rubbish in here, I'll end up pulling the whole carb off. We didn't really run it long enough to know if it's gonna, if it runs okay. We just, it fired. That's all we know so far. So there's our main jet, which is pretty clean, actually. Put that to the side. Too many projects on the go, too many things on the bench all apart. So that's out. Come on, off of there. Yeah. A little tap, down she comes. Oh, brass float. Brass float. Oh, and look at that. Well, carburetor's coming apart. Holy Jesus. Sludgy. I do not like the filter that was on there, those little disc style ones. They just don't filter. It's literally a screen in there. It's not even paper media. It keeps gravel and squirrels out, and that's about it. They're not a filter. So I put filters on them when I'm done with them. So we're just gonna put that bowl back on there so we don't lose anything while we're messing with it. Should be another 8mm on the front here. Nope, it isn't. It's 3/8 on the muffler. We'll need that one, and we'll need this and this. Hopefully those muffler bolts come out all right. Here's that. Let's get the muffler off. Oh yeah, it flew right off. There is gas running in that port. Oh boy. This muffler is gonna smoke when we fire it up and get it running for a bit. Oh yeah, she's pretty wet in there. You can tell it's an old engine. It's even threaded. It's still threaded here for a pipe, so you can thread a threaded muffler on it. Oh, whatever. Old design. Good engine. They work. All right, let's get those Allens out of there. Allen bolts. What size? This size? No, it is not that size. It is a bigger size. That size? That's the size. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah. There we go. Threads are snug most of the way out. So we still need to disconnect our choke. Oh, grab the gasket. It's probably could be okay to reuse that. Didn't disconnect our choke rod yet. It's easy enough to do. Just don't want the bolts to fly off. Choke rod just unhooks the Z bend on the back. There's a governor damper spring that is not even connected to anything because it's broken off, but we're going to fix that. And then we can just turn and twist and pull and a wiggle. I should be able to get that throttle rod off. Here we are. Carburetor off. One piece carburetor. Let's get you turned around, get on a bench there, and we'll tear into it, see what it looks like in there. Okay, the ultrasonic cleaner is still warming up, but we can just get this thing tore apart anyways. I'm not going to change that main adjustment yet. Don't need to. It's a nice heavy bowl. It's made of brass, maybe? I don't know. Oh, got some poo in there. Let's get needle nose pliers. Get that pin out of there. And our needle. Okay, we're going to give this a shake and a listen. See if it's got any fuel in it. Nice. It's dry. He's dry. Not going to mess with the gasket yet. We're going to get that jet out of there. Our low-speed jet. All right, screwdriver. Let's get this to the side because we need to put that back in eventually. A rubber tip? Yeah, rubber tip needle. Okay. Screwdriver. Let's get this jet out of here. Oh, yeah. Big holes in these, so it doesn't look plugged. We should be able to grab that tube out of there too, I think. Oh, I might need to put that in a vise. Maybe. Oh, no, we got her. It was tight. Come on out of there. The screw's been monkeyed with before. Woo. Nice long skinny tube. Jets are boogered, or the threads are boogered. That's not nice. But it is what it is. Can't do anything about it. We'll just have to go with it. Okay, let's get this one, but I'm going to count the turns first so we don't mess up our adjustment. So we'll start here. That's a half, 1 and a half. We started at 1 and a half on this low speed jet. I like taking all the jets out that I can, all the pieces out that I can. That way it gives the ultrasonic cleaner a better chance to get in there and get everything cleaned out. So, all right. I'm gonna give that a wipe. No sense dumping all this stuff right into the ultrasonic cleaner. I'm gonna put my small parts in a little container and we'll throw them in the ultrasonic cleaner and see what it looks like when it comes out. Okay, so I don't always show this part of the video because I don't always have to do it, but we know that this one had a overflowing problem, and you probably can't see it, but that seat down in there is a little crusty looking. So I'm just going to use some metal polish. So just cut a Q-tip in half and shove it in the drill. Put a little blob of metal polish on it. You don't need a lot. It's a tiny little bit will do. Then we'll put it in there and spin it. And then I just use the other half to clean it out. Make sure that there's no junk in there. Make sure you get all the little pieces of fiber out. You don't want any fiber staying in there because one little fiber can hang that needle open. Now look. Look at it. It's like brand new. Super easy trick. I happen to use, well, you can use turtle wax, you can use Mother's chrome and metal polish or whatever. This just happens to be what I got. Good magic. This stuff is really, really nice. Actually, I like it. Well, that's that. we'll get our, I already got the other jets and stuff put in it. Just wanted to show you guys the seat polishing. Let's get our needle set in there. There we go. We'll get our pin in there. We'll check that float height to make sure it's not too high, too low. Make sure that thing functions. So let's see if I can get you guys an angle on it. That's not too bad for a float level. Pretty well level with the bottom of the bowl. Okay, seems to be functioning. Hopefully the gasket doesn't leak. I didn't change it. I'm just hoping it doesn't leak. If it does, then we'll deal with it, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. Good and tight. I did not actually mess with this adjustment, but just for funsies, I'm going to check what it is. Half. Not even one. So 3/4 of a turn. That might not be enough. Yeah. I'm going to turn it out to 1 and see what happens. But now that it's clean, that may need to be adjusted again. Don't know. Alright. Installation is the reverse of the disassembly. So I'm not going to bore you guys with me bolting this thing back on. So I'm just going to bolt it on. And we're going to go from there. But I did take the opportunity while it was in the ultrasonic cleaner. I got the fuel tank blown out and all the debris off. I got it remounted. I got a new rubber line off the bottom of it. I got a new shutoff valve and I got a new filter here. I've got this left over just till I can get the carburetor on there and I know where to cut it. And I've even got fuel in it. So we were just waiting for the carburetor to come out of the ultrasonic cleaner and then we can do that. So let me get the carb on there. We'll get the air cleaner and everything put back on. I'll put the exhaust back on. We'll see what happens. Okay, things are back assembled. When you need to be done. It did have a 20 amp main breaker in it instead of a fuse. This had a breaker and it was kind of rusty and the terminals were loose on it, like spinning loose. So I just replaced it, put a new one on it. I had one, I just used it. So let's give her some gas. Gas is going in, but it has to stop going in too. Gonna fill the carb, and it should stop. Nope, it's not going in anymore. So that's good. That's a good sign. Muffler's back on and tight. Linkage. Yep, linkage is working. Well, let's give her. Booster pack is on there. Give her some choke. Crank her up. Dipstick is not in the engine. Let's not blow oil like a geyser. And you know what, I'll put a splash more oil in there. I don't want to blow the engine doing tests on it. I'll put a little more in there and see what happens. No sense exploding an engine. Well, now, that's going to be more than that. I think they hold about 1.5 liters or close to it. Oh, don't overfill her. I'm sure that's be enough for our testing. Good enough for now. Lots on the stick. Okay, well, no oil dripping out of it. Fuel is not overflowing anywhere. It's gonna smoke as soon as this thing starts up because that muffler is full of gas. Let's see. Choke, give her. Right to an idle. Nice. Runs good. Okay, I'm gonna open the doors, let this thing run and burn off this oil. Oh. Okay, so it's about 5 o'clock on a Saturday of a long weekend. I'm about ready to call it quits for today anyways. We'll be back out tomorrow working on this one, but yeah, I've gone over, I lubricated all the stuff underneath here. Got the plate back on, got the blades working. The deck is like silent. It's nice. He's put new spindles in it, so that's all good. It does actually have a new starter on it too. A lot of new parts on this one. But the issue was that crazy little motorcycle battery size thing. So that's the battery tray that came out of it. This is a standard mower lawn tractor battery, so it's like tiny and expensive. So I got my handy dandy plasma cutter out and I cut a hole. I cut it bigger out to the stash, and I had this battery box out of a Toro? I don't know, one of them. Any case, I set her down there. Outstanding. Lots of gap here, lots of room. Not going to hit the terminals. Lots of room. Perfect, because that battery is twice the size and costs me half as much. And it's a far, far better battery than the little motorcycle ones that go in there. I don't know what they were thinking when they put those in there. They don't last. They're only good for about 2 years maybe at the top end, and they just don't crank the engines over hard enough. So anyways, oh, and there's a hole in the bottom of this tray. I could feel underneath there. I could feel the transaxle pulley, but there's a solid 3/4 of an inch of gap between the bottom of the box and anything that's moving down there. It's a win. Okay, we got the hood on there, got her washed up, and it's a nice little tractor. Runs great, starts awesome. One last thing to do is we need to reinforce this area here, because this notched out area is not supposed to be notched out, and neither is this one. That's where the 2 original bolts go that hold the front of the tractor hood down to the frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece of angle iron. Well, we've got this stuff, which is, it comes in handy for a lot of these little applications. So it's a little angle. We're going to cut it the width of the tractor frame. You can see that it's been previously slotted out here by the previous owner on both sides, so we'll be able to get the flat part of the angle here and then down into those slots. And I'll make sure the hole lines up here for the original bolt on either side. Plus we're going to put probably maybe 3, one here, one here, and one here to secure the angle to the hood, and then we'll secure the angle to the frame using the original bolts. So that's what we're gonna do. I gotta charge my wireless mic here, it's dying. So I'll get that done and installed, and we'll do a quick final picture of it, and we'll close out the video. Alright guys, so there's our finished product. The 2 end bolts on those angles, on that angle piece, goes into the frame. And I've got 1, 2, 3 1/4-inch bolts that hold the angle to the hood. So to remove the hood, you don't have to take all this crap off. All you gotta do is just still take the 2 end ones off, just like you used to, and it'll come up. 1 bolt here, 1 bolt here, 2 more on each side, on the other side, and everything just falls off. So other than trying to get a set of lights in here, which is not going to be easy because it's not the newer style sockets. These are just round, so the socket's got a pile of spring-loaded fingers that just kind of snap in there. Those are obsolete, long gone. I can try and figure something out. I mean, I can cut notches and stuff. I've done it before. It's a lot of work. But if I can just find a harness sitting in my junk, maybe I'll hook it up. The wires for that are just tucked up underneath here, and they're just terminated and wrapped up. But speaking of wrapping up, let's call this one wrapped up. What a neat little tractor. Runs great, cuts the grass nice. Got a crazy Lumina APV look happening in the front end, if you know what I'm talking about. Those are not signal lights, but they look like it. It's like more like a bus. Nice little machine. It was taken care of by the previous owner. Thanks for joining me on this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you do subscribe, click on the bell. It'll notify you when I upload new stuff. If you want to see more of my stuff, please do that. I like it. Till the next one, guys. Take care.